Hello and welcome. My name is Dina Beth. I'm with the Queen Within Consulting. So excited to have you here with us today. If you're coming in on the replay, please type replay here in the chat. And if you're coming in live, let us know where you're coming in from. We are delighted to meet with you here from just north of the Grand Canyon. Chantel's there in Atlanta, Georgia. She'll be joining us here shortly to talk to us about the 3 keys to jumpstarting our marriages, which I think is such an important and valuable reminder for us about what it is that creates extraordinary marriages and how we can really move from being in a state of kind of getting by and survival to really thriving. Super excited to have Chantel with us. It says that Debbie has a chance to so Chantel, are you on your phone? Because Debbie's joining us and she has the option to bring her on camera, but yours is not giving me the option. I wonder if you need to be on your phone and possibly you're on your laptop or something. So you'll need to let me know. So Debbie, we're just getting started with our 3 keys to jumpstart your marriage. This is going to be talking about every marriage has a unique assignment. We're all, really given a specific purpose as we launch into our marriage. And when we know what that is, then we can avoid any kind of abuse. Yeah, she's on her computer. So Chantel, if you could log out and come back in on your maybe iPhone, possibly that would give me the chance to bring you up. Yeah, maybe that's the trick. So yeah, if you don't mind, come back on. So we're going to be talking about really when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And I think that's a really interesting concept that we're going to explore today. We're also looking at the fact that marriage is no exception to that rule. When we don't know what we're about, we don't know what our purpose is, we're not really clear the intention of this thing that we're working on, we can lose track of the overall, the overarching and the really things that matter most and that can really hold us together. So building a business with our spouse is the third option here, or the third talking point. And it describes here that when we build a business with our spouse, that it not only can be incredibly challenging, but it can also be very rewarding for us as well. So I think that's something to keep in mind as we journey together, that the rewards come even though there may be challenges. That is what we're all about here with the Happy Homes and Hearts group, with the podcast we have coming out that's called Love Your Life, Love Your Marriage. The Happy Homes, Happy Hearts group is really the same thing. It's coming together as women that are ready to really serve in a deep way, supporting one another in a deep way around these topics of marriage, health, wellness, self-improvement, anything that inspires, lifts, makes things better. That's what we're all about. So happy to have you with us. If you are in our Happy Homes and Hearts group, so happy to have you here. If you are not, you want to join. It's for like-minded women that are really coming together to lift one another in this amazing journey, and especially around the topics that we're discussing here. So happy to have Chantel. Melissa, welcome. So happy you're here. Melissa's one of my favorites. So grateful for Debbie being here as well. Crazy, I have the fun ones coming on saying, and it actually gives me the option, bring them on camera, whereas the gal that I'm counting on joining us in the live broadcast today, or the live cast, is actually doesn't give me the option to bring her on camera. So we're having some fun getting our technology pieces worked out. So thank you for your patience here. So let me tell you a little bit about this amazing couple. So we have Mawale and his wife Chantel joining us, and they should be here on camera shortly. These folks are amazing requested speakers. There we are. She's here. She found her phone just right. Getting introduced to this amazing couple. These two are not only highly requested speakers. Okay.
Hi, Dina.
Saying your name right. Is it Wale?
Yes, I'm Wally.
I love your name. It's very original. Beautiful. Yeah. And then we have Chantel, their beautiful smiles. And we also have a little one in the back. Super excited that they get to share their family with us today. So we have our guests, our special guests on our show. This is, again, our Love Your Life, Love Your Marriage podcast that will be extracting the audio from this to be able to share out with the world. And of course, this is going to be, live in person kind of for the moment. But of course, everybody on Facebook gets to have the full story. Super happy to have all of you joining us. Again, if you come in on replay, coming in from. So welcome our guests. I want to tell you a little bit about Mawale and Chantel Henry. Not only are they highly requested speakers and transformational coaches, but they're also affectionately known as the Millennial Power Couple, which we are getting very excited to know this amazing couple. If you can think millennials and power in the same word, that's pretty exciting. So they really this dynamic duo maintains a global presence, impacting lives of many through ministry and nonprofit work. So they work with the at-risk youth, not only in Trinidad, but also in Tobago. And I'm not sure I'm saying that name right, so you might want to correct me if I'm saying it. Is that right? Tobago?
Tobago.
Tobago, thank you. So as owners of the Legacy Project based in Atlanta, Georgia, Molly and Chantel are on a mission to help 1,000 people become international best-selling authors by 2020, which is a very large goal. What is that, like 50 away? 1,000 people, that's a lot of authors every month. Woo, that's a huge commitment. I'm so impressed. So they like to think of themselves as kind of like midwives that help you birth your book. So if you think of the book that you've been wanting to get to life and get it out there on the shelves and really sell it as a seller, this is your couple. You want to reach out to these amazing folks and let them help you bring the book to life. So if you can imagine being with 1,000, fun. So again, we are doing the 3 keys to jumpstart your marriage today, and we're going to talk briefly about them, and then we'll get started hearing what their insight about this is. So what we want to start with is remembering that every marriage has a given unique assignment. I think this is a really powerful insight and reminder for all of us that may have not sat down and gotten clear about what is the unique assignment that our marriage is really set out to. I know from the first word that comes to me, and we think of that as a legacy. I love the word legacy, so I'm sure I could do. The second one is when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And we want to look at that as marriage really has no exception. So if you don't know why, don't have that purpose really established, you're not clear on what your intention is for this thing, or this unique assignment isn't really known, it will get in the way of what you really want, and you may end up with something exact opposite of what you want. And like I say, even abuse and other things that are inappropriate and unacceptable, right? So I love that they're bringing this out, and I believe it's going to make a huge impact on how we see ourselves, how we see each other, and the way they start to change this and turn it around. Last detail for all of us, and we should love hearing your little one. It's so precious. So anybody that's not family probably is going to tune out, but we love family here, so everybody's welcome. There's always room for one more, right? So we're so delighted that these folks are willing to take out of their busy lives and they're happy that they to share the little one as well. We also have this last little detail, and that is that building a business with a spouse is challenging and yet very rewarding. One level or another, get that. I thought it was working with my husband. I actually did like that. It was actually a really big job, and it was more than I imagined it to be. So I'm sure we all relate on one level. My daughter's trying to call me, and I really get to remember to block my calls when that happens, or when I'm doing these lives. So thank you for your patience while that hopefully doesn't happen again. She's very persistent. so
Absolutely.
Started here. Super excited to have Chantel and Mwale with us, and I would love for them to get started telling us about how it is that they were able to discover their unique assignment, and what is it that calls to them to really serve on this capacity as like I said, ministers are really showing up to support people on so many. Love to hear what got you started, and tell us about you.
Thank you so much, Dina, for having us, and a special hello to everyone at the Happy Homes and Hearts group. We absolutely love the mission that is attached to this particular group, and we are so honored to be a part of it in this fashion. So, and obviously, excuse us in advance for the babies in the background, but what are happy homes without toddlers? Our unique assignment came in October of 2013. It was my first time traveling to Las Vegas, and Mwale's first time actually being in America. and we were in a conference with well over 20,000 people. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those network marketing thingamajigs, but they have massive crowds coming from all over the world. And this particular conference was no exception. And I was traveling alone by myself. My toddler's giving me the microphone, which is in the form of a jumbo crayon. Anyway, I was traveling by myself at that conference, and I literally didn't have anyone to look to. And so I decided that I would go nonetheless. And before I went, though, one of my coaches said, you never want to go into one of these conferences without having expectations. And I was 25 years old, single, extremely single at the time, and had just graduated with my master's. And I was just like, well, I'm sick of this dating life, so I guess I expect my husband. And he looked at me and said, you know what, Chantel, you may say that, being a smart aleck, but really and truly, you never know, it may happen. And I said, yeah, whatever. Like, what are the chances? Well, 3 months later, I decided no dating, meeting a lot of great guys, but I wouldn't date them. I would just leave some time for me to really develop into the woman I know God was calling me to be. And with that, I cut everybody off. And I was lonely. Yes, I was a little bit devastated because I didn't know how long it would be before I met someone that I really loved. And God knew, because he sent me to the conference in Las Vegas, and within 48 hours of arriving, I am in a line of over 1,000 people in that one line, and I meet Mwale.
How extraordinary. I love that.
This is where you come in. It was love at first sight, but not in a traditional sense where I gleamed into his eyes and I knew he was the one, but really I knew that God had answered my prayers, because little did he know is that when I was on the plane, the 5-hour journey from Atlanta to Las Vegas, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, Chantel, if you really want a husband, then you need to let me know what it is that you want in this guy. And I had never had a relationship with God like that before, let alone a conversation. And it literally led me to writing down in my journal 9 points that I wanted in a spouse. And less than 48 hours later, here I am standing in front of the man of my dreams.
Beautiful. What
now I'm sitting in front of next to him.
I love that. So you did 9 points of things that you really were like the winning points you got to have, and then there it was manifested right before your eyes. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure there's plenty of people that love to hear things like that. So tell us more.
Yes, and so Mwale, he would really be this would be a good opportunity for you to tell them what stood out about me. He's playing shy, but he's not shy. That made you know that I was your wife.
One of the key things, as I was just listening to the account that Chantal was sharing, for me, I think what was really telling was not just the intensity of the conversation, but one of the things I knew that it was God's will was what she had shared was exactly what I would pray in my private time with God about a spouse. So I'm talking about like word for word, like sentence construction, just exactly how I had those intimate times of prayer with God about my spouse to be. She repeated it to me. So it felt like I was in a twilight zone, like somebody's spying on me during my prayer time. So I knew without a shadow of a doubt that, she was the person that God placed on my pathway. And, as the emotions rush through your heart and you're all excited, one of the key things God said to me when I was leaving Trinidad, I was actually just passing through the US for 3 days for that conference. I was actually heading to Canada to do a PhD research. So I was going to spend a year in Canada. And God told me, when you're leaving Trinidad, I want you to get back home because I have a specific assignment for you to do. And I didn't know what it was precisely because I was the protocol officer for my prime minister, which is equivalent to your president. I worked in international affairs. We hosted, President Obama, the Queen of England. So I was doing a lot of international work. So I thought it was somewhere in that sphere. So meeting Chantel, she had a successful business in Atlanta. She's doing so many different things. She was a college professor. So in my mind, I'm beginning to think, your instructions to me, how does that um, align with meeting this young lady? So I was really thinking in my heart, okay, Lord, give me true guidance and confirmation if this is really going to work out. And the practical side came in, the logistics came in. And while thinking about it, just on the last day of the conference, I'm standing at the curb. We're about to take the bus to head back to the airport. And Shanta just turns to me and she said,
And
"Well,
Wale, I'll follow you wherever you go."
Wow.
And keep in mind, I had no idea where Trinidad was on the map, but I said everything like your parents tell you not to say, Dina.
This is a strange man, right?
Exactly. They're like, don't meet any strange guys, and if you meet them, don't give them your phone number, But I'm
Yeah.
making like lifelong commitments. Princeton, stop it. Sorry.
So
Pushing
precious.
his sister. I'm making lifelong commitments to a man that I literally just met, and so that goes back to your question. When you are looking for your purpose in your marriage,
Yes.
the number one way to find out is to hear from the Holy Spirit, hear from God. And if you're watching this and maybe you're not a believer, listen, I wasn't either. However, God can still speak to you like he spoke to me. So now that you have, if you've never known that before, that God can speak to you, I use this as an opportunity to start praying for your spouse, because it does work. And most importantly, don't set goals. Like, by the time I'm 30 years old, I want, a husband or a wife and, to be married and have 2.5 children. No, you set expectations. You say instead, Lord, I expect that I would have this or have that, but not my will, but your will be done.
Definitely.
Because
Beautiful.
his plans are better than any plans that we can make for ourselves.
So,
Beautiful.
to your first point, we're talking about, what are some of those key tools for guidance in marriage, and what really stood out for me was, and we always say this in counseling when we're counseling young persons going through marriage counseling, when we speak on at different stages, we tell people that whatever picture you have that you think marriage is about, what actually keeps couples together is a unique assignment. That there's only something the two of you are brought together to accomplish, and that's when I knew for certain, because before I made that commitment towards Shanta, what the pre-qualifier that God said to me is, wherever I'm taking you, your wife is going to come into agreement with that, and you guys are going to walk this life out together. And I remember when I was in Canada, it was my first day at the university, and God was like, wherever you are in your life, you've reached your ceiling, and I'm going to send you a helpmeet for you. And when she said that I'll follow you wherever you go, it may sound really romantic, but it was truly affirming and solving that conundrum in my mind. Yeah, how would this work? Yeah, how would this work out? Let's oh, okay, good. Yeah, how would this work out from a practical sense, and her having the willingness of heart to to travel into the unknown, to travel in unique spaces, really allowed um, us to walk this out together in unity. So I think I want to encourage everyone, whatever God is calling you to create in the earth, that specific assignment, He's going to send you a helpmate to support each other in fulfilling that God sent assignment. So I think that was my greatest confirmation, and I knew that it was exactly that. So that's why today, I know you opened, you said we're in Atlanta. We're actually in Trinidad. So last year we decided to move full time in Trinidad as we support the nonprofit work that we do in fighting human trafficking, because this is the assignment God gave to my heart. And my wife is here with me, and she is, a true, powerful support. So she loves it, and being in this environment is totally different. And she's like, this is a great place to raise a family. And so I want to encourage everyone, to pursue your marriage on the basis of an assignment. So when you're angry, it's not about is she a good cook, all right? Does she do the laundry often? All these different things create big frustration, right? You as a husband or as a wife, um, you guys realize that you're together for a specific mission, and that keeps you focused. Yes. That allows you to go over the bumps in your marriage much more quickly, because you wouldn't abort a mission because she didn't do the toast well, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah,
or
so.
Because he leaves dirty dishes in the sink,
or his socks on the floor, right? How many times do I need to pick up these socks? And was he thinking I was going to, right? They ask men, do you think that it's women's job to pick up the socks? And they're like, no, I just left them there because it was where they need. I just took them off. I didn't think about who was going to pick them up. And we're over here going, oh, he's making me pick up his socks again. This is fun. I love that you described it as bumps in the road, because there really are bumps in the road, and they can become roadblocks when we get, like you said, just really out of alignment with that assignment. So thank you so much for how beautiful that was. And I love that comment that Chantel made about praying for your partner. I just could not second that enough, because I believe that is such a huge piece. I really, really love this story about, I'll follow you wherever you go, and knowing that God sent you that helpmeet to support you in your assignment, in your assignment, in your mission. Such a beautiful, beautiful description of what I know works and what is sustainable. So tell us more. What is it about this, the business part, that has been challenging for you and yet very rewarding? Tell us a little more about the journey and what you've been, obviously you're doing an incredible work that is so needed. Human trafficking is something that I think so many of us are just so appalled by, and to have people willing to dedicate their lives and their family, even that's a lot, to take on as a family, and to hear about some of the challenges and some of the journey you've been on with that would be amazing. Tell us more.
Well, it definitely has been a journey of faith. It wasn't easy, but more so, we work from the principle of money is an assignment, all right? And when you understand that money is an assignment, you approach things differently, because sometimes people believe money is a convenience, or money is an ability to increase your choices, right? But we've really looked at scripture in a different way, where money is designed to fund the vision, the mission, your existence on the earth, right? Money is to serve, right? You're not a servant of money, but money is a servant. Money is something to steward. So when we were creating our business, and we begin to see what was the specific assignment that God had for us, we saw it was a great assignment that required a lot of resources, a lot of technical expertise, just a lot of financial backing. And we challenged God. We said, okay, God, you've proven us in your word that, seek him first, and everything else is going to be added. We don't want to just be tithers, but we want to be generous givers. So every time we sat down and we planned our business together and goals together, we would look at what's the ministry's required budget, what is required for this quarter, for the next 2 years. And then we say to God, allow the resources to flow through our business so that we can meet those demands. Because working in the in this sector, which is human trafficking, you're mainly working with children. So most of the persons who are part of the ministry are children. They're not gainfully employed. So, it's not like a traditional ministry where you'll have a lot of adults who would be tithers and supporting the cause. especially in the inception stage, in the incipient stage of our ministry. So God has truly been faithful that when we looked at it like that, he has always been able to meet the financial demands, because we've seen money as an assignment. We never were able to grow the business we're able to grow the business from a place of inspiration rather than desperation, right? Where you're just trying to get as much clients as you can. We're able to say no to certain clients because we know what the resources is going towards. Not all clients are the ideal clients. So we've always understood that in this journey, we must have the confidence to know that God is in control, and He'll supply what is required. And I will say to you that when our our discussions about around money as a family has been around that principle. Money is an assignment. What does God want us to do? And He funds His vision all the time. What does God want us to do as a family? As you would know, the number one frustration in marriage is money, right?
Yes.
People have arguments over money. How do you allocate money? I am really vision driven, and sometimes I want to dip into family money to fund ministry, and my wife be like, okay, let's be responsible, and we stuck to that assignment. We understood what was required for this season. Some things we would just wait a little while until things are cleared. So I encourage every couple, whenever you're sitting on discussing finances, discuss it around a God-given assignment, because resources have a job to do, and that's why if people don't understand that, sometimes the lack of resources is because of lack of understanding of the assignment. And then sometimes when you have resources and you don't know what the assignment, then finances in itself can become problematic because you use it for everything else that distracts you from the will of God. So I encourage everyone, and we encourage ourselves every day as we ask God, what is the assignment? What does He have us to focus on? And God has been faithful to His will.
Very beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Wally. I really value your perspective on that. I believe it's going to take you far as a couple and as a family. And like you say, in your ministry, that there is so much can be accomplished when we truly get that and we stay focused on that being the source of our blessings and the source of our assignment and the source of our, the wherewithal and resources that we need to be able to carry that out. It's beautiful, beautiful. I'd love to hear from Chantel before we wind up here. Chantel, is there anything more you'd like to add? Because I know you mentioned that that it's been a challenge, but then also, there was a lot of reward in it. Tell us a little bit about your experience with having a business with your partner and how that's been for you.
Yeah, so in our home, we have two hats. One hat is black and one hat is white. Well, when Mwale wants to talk with me as the CEO of our company, because I do a lot of the operations, and if he wants to have a real conversation with me about the business, he puts on his black hat. The black hat
because she's visual. She understands things from a visual perspective.
So the black hat for me, it means business only. That there's no emotion involved. If he corrects me, it does not.
It's not her husband talking to her.
It's not a reflection of my
CEO.
Horrible.
Right. It's not a reflection of my performance as a wife. It doesn't disqualify me in any way, even though he may not be happy with things that I've done in the business. For whatever reason, he's still happy with the things that I've done in the house. So it allows me to have a two ways of looking at things, because when he puts on his white hat, he'll give me all the compliments in the world. He'll shower me with praises, and he will also give me some rebuke when it comes to things that I may not have done well as a wife. But that visual really is just a good example of how when you're in business with your spouse, or if you want to go into business with your spouse, you have to make sure that you put first things first, and the first thing is your family, but that you also are responsible stewards of the business that God has blessed you with. And in order for you to have good stewardship, there must be a distinction between how you operate your family life and how you operate your business. Because the chances of it gelling together is so, the lines can easily be blurred, but a successful business must have systems in place where you can absolutely carry out your duties in both regard. Because marriage is like a business as well sometimes, right? You got to wake up at a certain hour. You would know this, Dina, in order to organize lunches and provide breakfast, etc. Same with the business. You have to be on a dedicated schedule in order for you to maximize the success of your company. So,
and also, one of the things I've realized in the process of having that type of visual is that, when because I saw we used to have some rough edges, like when we talk, when we're having meetings or staff meetings, because, we're located in Trinidad, and we operate in Atlanta, and when we're having business meetings, because we have an office in Atlanta, we more function here in Trinidad when we're here in Trinidad at home. So this is for all those who run a home-based business. You need to assign a space in your home where it's just business, and you don't want to bring business into the bedroom,
yes,
bring business in the kitchen everywhere you go, that you begin to lose that sacred space that
That's
home
right.
represents, that place of comfort and relaxation, and, just that place of safety and comfort. So having that visual sometimes really helps her to know that, hey, this is not the CEO talking to you, or it just resets her mind that even though we just spoke about, targets and accountability, this is your husband talking to you now. So, it doesn't carry that same memory. Oh, you just talk to me about targets, and now you want to talk,
now you want to hug me up.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, they just don't mesh. It's like this thing, it's one way and then it's the other and nothing's working.
Yeah.
I totally hear you. Well, I think if I would have talked to you folks a couple of years ago, my life should have really went a lot better. I've done several businesses with my husband, and the last one was the roughest. I could not quite get the white hat and the black cat right at the right time. And so I think we missed on that one in a big way. So thank you for those tips. Those are really powerful, excellent reminders. I think every single woman out there could be benefited in some way by remembering that there are different roles that we play, and we all get to wear hats at times that are, that are different, and we've got to be willing to take that one off. And, like I said, leave some sacred space for the white hat times when we're just being a husband and wife and friends, and we're in that other mode now. And I think just recognizing that can really serve on so many levels to really get that it's not personal when we're talking with the black hat on, and it's more just really trying to accomplish a specific purpose. And I think one thought that comes to me when I hear all of this is that for women, our safety comes in connection. And often in trying to work with our husbands, we get really offended when we feel disconnected. And the second we feel disconnected is usually when we feel disgruntled because of something they did or did not do that made us feel unappreciated or unacknowledged, or, so there's this disconnect, and there may be some criticism in there or some blaming. And then there's, this movement away from one another. And that always causes us to have tension and to feel, that lack of safety that we are looking for in our partnership. And for men, their safety comes from completely the opposite. They come from for a man, his masculine wiring would have him look for the producing of results being his source of safety. And when he's able to produce the results that are required, and of course, when we as women are in our masculine energy, which we are when we're running business, when we have our black hat on, so to speak, then we are looking to produce results. And so we'll get into that very masculine energy. And we'll notice that things shift quite a bit when we're in that other side of ourselves that's trying to produce results. And one of the greatest source of frustration for that is when something is not allowing us to produce the results we know we could if we could just get the resources we need. If we could just get people behind us, if we get, so just recognizing those little teeny things about each other, I think can make a big difference in how we respond. It's not personal. It's really just how we're wired and how we're set up to be able to push through those moments. And And what we're, what we're trying to accomplish is to connect. What we're trying to accomplish is get those results, and to not be looking at it as this person is really, persecuting me here because of, all of the circumstances that come into the play when we're trying to move something forward. So thank you so much for these little tips today. I don't want to keep us here too long, but is there any last minute thoughts that came up here? Because I'd love to hear the, share last minute, moments here if there's something more that came up for you.
I just want to encourage everyone, to, just be assignment oriented. It allows you. I didn't get to mention this, but it really allows you to be angry shorter.
Yes.
The disagreements, even if they may happen, it may happen infrequently, and more so, you know, your your fears, they are averted, in a more divine way, in the sense that that God has ordained you in this direction, and if you just stay the course, it's going to come to pass. Habakkuk says that, so we tell people, that when you know that this is the assignment, be comforted that you're heading in the right directions. And things may not seem what you may expect, um, but still have that comfort. If you're more assignment oriented, you know that this is what we agreed to, and it really helps. It definitely helps. Secondly, stay and let your agreements be sacred, because sometimes as couples we change our agreements because it's convenient. But our coach always tells us convenience and conviction never lives on the same block. All right. Yeah, convenience and your
anyone listening, please type that in for us. Convenience and conviction never live on the same block. I love that.
So really stay committed to your original agreements and hold those agreements sacred, whatever that agreement might be. um, and finally, ensure that you minister to your marriage separately from any other thing. I always say to my wife that you are my first ministry. So before being a CEO, being a pastor, being a college professor, being all these different titles that I may hold, my first ministry is to her. So, to the men out there, ensure that you feed your marriage, you nourish it, and it's true. A happy wife will definitely create a happy life. So, so those are just I want to share with you guys as we go.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate getting to know you a little bit, Mwali. It's been a pleasure having you in our show. I'm so excited to be able to share this out with the world. I know they're going to be benefited tremendously, and we are very blessed to have your wisdom shared forward on this, on the screen and on the airwaves. And thank you, Chantel, for all of your generous contributions. And obviously, you both bring so much intention and deliberate action to bring forward a beautiful, mission, a beautiful ministry, an amazing family, an extraordinary couple. And I just so appreciate you sharing your wisdom today and your insight about what is working, what can support couples in making better decisions and being more wise. I love some of these sayings. Powerful. I'll definitely be typing them into the chat. Feel free to come back and respond to our listeners. We had Melissa here and Susanna. We're so grateful they were able to stop in. And we had Debbie earlier and a couple others. So feel free to come back through. Feel free to share this out on all your channels. Anyone that you feel would be benefited. It's easy to grab the URL and just drop it in their inbox if you feel like they may want to keep it kind of, toned down. Nobody knows we're struggling, but this might be great advice for us to hear, kind of thing. There's always someone that could really benefit from what we've talked about today. So feel free to let this message out. And the goal is to get it in a podcast form, edit anything that we, that makes sense for us to pull out so that it's really, kind of compact and has all the right, beginnings and endings. And of course, we'll wrap it up and get it out there to whoever's ready for some great reminders and insights and supports around being able to create these sustainable marriages, really focusing on what's possible in our modern marriages, bringing out the best morsels from research of what does work. And of course, looking at how it is that we have, maybe expectations are unrealistic in marriage that may be getting in the way. And I love those things that you've placed here before us to remind us about what is actually producing the results we'd love to have in our marriages, which is, like you said, that patience, and long-suffering, generosity, and just really something that is worth having. So thank you, both of you, Chantel, Mawali. It's been such a privilege getting to know you and your beautiful family. Would love to connect at another later date, maybe do another round of this if it makes sense for you folks, and would definitely want to stay connected. So anytime you want to, contribute in our group here, feel free. If you have something that would be a great contribution, we want to get, as many folks in here as possible to get some of these benefits of some of these commentaries and these conversations, because there's so much good that can be brought forward for folks that are looking for it. So thank you for being part of the work and the effort here. I think it's been well worth our time to take a few minutes here and share those morsels. So it's been a privilege.
Thanks for having us. To the next one.
Thank you. You take care now and have a beautiful afternoon. Enjoy your weekend.